border of Belize and Mexico, the state of Quintana Roo. But you can see there are miles of beaches, and so unlike right here in Cozumel and Costa Maya, which has been highly developed with big hotels and big docks for big ships, this whole area is pretty natural and under preservation so far. But there's a lot of it. It's a vast coastline, really. And you can, if you particularly have your own private boat, you can go out there and find your own private island, but I advise you, you've got to bring some rum if you think you're going to survive. And the coast is often covered with mangroves and is very difficult to access, except in a few places. Now, I had many years ago taken my folding sailing kayak down and with my then girlfriend to go sailing around the coast of Belize. And we flew down to Cancun with our pack and our folding boat, got in our boat and just kept going and seeing things like the manatees and turtles. And we went sort of hopping from island to island, depending on which one had sand fleas on it. Some of them were developed. This is Ambergris Key. The name is actually the name of the essence that you get in the head of sperm whale, which is a valuable commodity for perfume. So there was some whaling off of this coast, but now the whales are pretty much gone from this particular part of the Caribbean. This is Belize City in 1914 when it was a British territory. Sorry, the picture is sort of fuzzy. It's actually taken from a panorama that stretches 4 times this size, has a picture of the whole town. And it was built up as a trading center mainly for timber and other sea commodities. This is what it looks like today. It actually has not changed that much. It doesn't have a skyline. It doesn't have big hotels. And we went there and continued to go up into the back country of Belize from here. There is if we were to go there, there is enough dockage, and so now they get a few cruise ships. Inland, there are other towns. This is in Orangetown and Belmopan and other small communities that are in the lowlands of Belize. This is the national parliament. So it's a small country, but it has its independence for now, and it's fairly peaceful. It doesn't have the conflicts typical of Guatemala and other nations in Central America. Again, there are different products: bananas, sugar, a little bit of petroleum, and seafood. And, of course, tourism now. But the people along the coast will run into we call the Garifuna, and they are a very resourceful people, having been once desperate and escaped and come over and set up a subsistence fishing and farming along the coast. And I was playing a little music of them. I think there's a tour in Belize that goes to the hot pepper factory, and they do singing and dancing of their music, which is very rhythmic and very expressive, and maybe I'll be able to play it. I don't have it right now, but the people are distinctive in their speak and in their spirit. They also mix somewhat with the Mayan people and then with the Spanish or the English, so that there's a lot of people are mixed race in Belize. And still working the sea and up in the river. Here is one of the lowland rivers, the Sabun River, which goes up into up to the highlands, to where now this is a point where we now go up to go rafting and adventuring up into the mountains. And when I was with my then girlfriend, I took her up into one of these rivers, and we packed up our bag and our kayak and went up to a rail, or rather a road, where we could get onto the river and then go down the river all the way to the sea again. And it was a little more demanding than we thought, because once we were on the river, there was no way to get ashore because it was impenetrable jungle or very steep, and so we just sort of kept going past some natural beauty, but we were also having to sort of stay away from the alligators over here and the monkeys on the other bank, and we went through this countryside, which probably was once a lush forest, but right on the riverbanks it was pretty, there wasn't so much agriculture, it was just the remnant forests. So it looks like this, sort of somewhat of a not very tidy land, but we ended up in kind of this wilderness area in Belize, which some places have these beautiful big trees and things, but usually that's where the agriculture is. And we camped under one of these trees, I remember, and then we were woken up by sunset or by dawn by red ants that had covered our entire camp and tent, and we had to pack up and get it back in the boat and keep going. So it's an unusual country because you do have some variety of people that is surprising. These are Mennonites who came from somewhere in North America, and they set up their own isolated farm community where they specialize in making cheese and provide fresh milk to Belize. And they still speak a kind of an old German amongst themselves, and then they learn the local languages somewhat. But you'll perhaps see some of them when we go ashore in Belize, because they have communities around this area. And I'll just show you a couple more things. This is that cotton tree, which was used to make cloth in ancient times. This is another tropical tree which is called achiote, which is a spice used in a lot of Latin cooking. It gives kind of a red, piquant taste to it. And the wildlife is abundant in Belize. This is the coati, which is sort of like a cross between a dog and a cat, I can only say it, but usually it's a nocturnal animal, and it goes up looking for fruit and things. Here's an anteater, which is charming, but watch out for their tongue. And then the snakes and the vermin are many, lots of bugs, and so camping in Belize is not recommended, as they say, unless you hire the right guide who knows where to go. Well, there are also a lot of monkeys. This is a spider monkey, but most famous in Belize are the howler monkeys. And these guys sit up in the trees and are very territorial. They guard their area by howling at each other. And this monkey can make a noise which is the loudest of any animal on earth, other than maybe a trumpeting elephant or something. Now, they never look too happy, like, why are you taking my picture without my permission? Something like that. And they just sit there and they watch you go by, but they will attack you if you get close to them. And so they used to hunt them. Now they're protected, but they're given their own reserves. Well, we were in our kayak going down this river, and these howler monkeys were howling at us as we came down. They didn't, what are you guys doing on your river without the proper license? And so we then camped on a little spit of sand, and then they really got angry, and they started howling. And the curious thing about this monkey, it has a resonant chamber in its skull, so that when it starts to howl, it can be heard a mile away. Now, I had a recording which I couldn't get to work, so I will imitate the howler monkey for you. You can all sing along. It goes, except loud enough to be heard a mile away. Now, all together. What music to a monkey's ears. Well, anyway, my wife, my now wife, in her journal, I found out later, I can't believe I went off with this guy and bug beaten, and now the monkeys are yelling at me. I'll never go on another date with this guy. Well, we've been married 30 years, but I only take her on boat rides like this now. Also in the jungles of Belize are the tapir. This is the Baird's tapir with its distinctive white-tipped ears. And this is sort of a relative to the elephants, and they are throughout Central America and South America, and they're a bovine herbivore with this sort of shortened trunk which they use for sniffing and smelling for different food, and maybe they answer the howling monkeys with that, I don't know, but they have this unusual foot, 4 toes, or whatever you call those, sort of cloven times 2. And then there are a lot of birds. This is the curassow, which is a land-based semi-flightless bird. It's big. It gets to be 3 feet long. And this is the quetzalcoatl, which is very rare now because they were hunted for their feathers, and now they're protected. But that's the mythical symbol of the Mayan people. And then there are a lot of parrots. This is the scarlet macaw, which is very pretty to look at, but you don't want to get too close because they're known for biting your finger off, and they're kind of an aggressive bird. And the locals, again, kill them because they'll come in and they have this nasty way. They'll come into a plantation, and if they see a banana tree, they won't eat one banana. They'll take a bite out of each banana. And so I once in my vagabondage adopted one of these that had its wings clipped, so it couldn't fly, and it was being kicked around a little village. So I said, "Can I have your bird?" And they said, "Sure." And sure enough, it tried to bite me every time I got close to it. But I let it go to its fate that way. And there's other fantastic birds. This is the king vulture, which certainly has a look to it. And of course the toucan. This is the ridged bill toucan. There are varieties of it, but it actually exists not just in cartoons. And then the king of the jungle, the jaguar, which is the symbol of power for the Mayan people and is often depicted in their iconographic writings. But it is out there in the jungles, and there is hunting of it still, but it's a pretty wily big cat, and it survives. Well, I'm going to go on to just a bit about the Mayan culture. You can see all these different sites in Yucatan, Palenque and up to Chichen Itza, some of the great ones, Tulum, Copan. In Honduras, there's Copan. We're going to go to Quirigua. There's other ones in Belize, Lumanay is the biggest site. So scholars spend their whole life studying this culture, and it's quite remarkable, and it's not just visually, but in its mystical imaginations and in its tragic history of warfare and collapse. And one historian called it the first great example of cultural collapse caused by deforestation, climate change, warfare, and mismanagement of their own land. And so all of these ruins were once part of a very vibrant and much larger population, but they came to a terrible fate when they had such bad economy and warfare that we only have a remnant population now, but we keep finding more and more of these tremendous archaeological sites. And I'm going to speak about that in a few days from now on our way back to the Costa Maya. But meanwhile, I wish you have a good day at sea and a good visit to Roatan and to San Tomas and to Belize. My pleasure to be with you. Thank you very much.